Several groups are eyeing to have a transport holiday following a series of oil price hikes. And because of expensive fuel, some motorists are now resorting to alternative modes of transportation. Political attacks are starting to heat up, even among the presidential candidates. Some national candidates are again staging huge campaign rallies in the provinces. We'll give you a rundown of where the candidates are headed today. And Marvel superhero Ant-Man trended online in the Philippines, but not exactly for the right reasons. Fast, focused, and fearless. Here's everything you need to know as you jumpstart your day. I'm Charles Lejano. Some transport groups are eyeing a temporary halt in operations to pressure the government to immediately address the impact of oil price hikes on PUV drivers. Shaila Francisco has the report.
4 transport groups are postponing their petition for a fare hike despite the series of oil price hikes in the past weeks. This comes after the Transportation Department's assurance that the 2.5 billion peso fuel subsidy will be doubled. The DOTR will also include traditional jeepneys in their service contracting program.
Kung andyan na ang mga subsidy na yan, mga service contracting, totally atras na namin yan.
However, Liga ng Transportasyon at Operators sa Pilipinas will continue their 6 peso fare hike petition. If approved, this will result in a 15 peso minimum fare. The group says the fuel subsidy being offered by the government is simply not enough. They said the payout cannot cover the net increase in oil prices and will do little to address the rising costs of other commodities. Other transport groups agree.
Hirap na po talaga. Karamihan po sa mga driver namin, halos hindi na matunan yung pangangailangan ng pamilya.
With this, transport groups are calling for the amendment of oil deregulation law as well as suspending the VAT and excise tax on petroleum products. If this doesn't happen, over 30 transport groups warn that they will halt operations next week.
Hindi ho ito isang babala, hindi ho ito isang threat. Kung walang kita, bakit ka palalabas? Kung nalulugi ka lang, bakit ka palalabas?
The DOTR appeals to these groups to reconsider as this would only affect the riding public. But the department is also ready to impose penalties if needed. For its part, the Finance Department insists that suspending fuel excise tax will result to foregone revenues and will only slow down economic recovery. Shaila Francisco, we are One News.
The LTFRB is appealing to transport groups to postpone any planned transport strike or tigil pasada amid the soaring prices of oil. On One News' The Big Story, LTFRB Chairman Martin Delgra appealed to these groups to suspend such transport strikes, noting that millions of commuters would be affected. Delgra assured transport operators that the agency is now coordinating with the Budget Department for the early release of funds for fuel subsidies. He also notes that the Transportation Department is requesting the doubling of the initial fund from 2.5 million pesos to 5 million pesos based on the recommendation of the government's economic team. However, the LTFRB is also not in favor of the proposed fare hike, saying they do not want to pass the burden of the rising oil prices to the riding public.
We would like to appeal to the transport group, especially for those who are catering to the millions of commuters. I'm referring to the PUJ as well as the tricycles. And for which, kung pwede, ipagpaliban yan. Kasi may ginagawa yung gobyerno.
Cycling has now become a popular option for transportation as more motorists try to find other alternatives amid the oil price hikes. Mobile journalist King Senko has this report.
With the spate of pump price increases, some motorists are already opting for alternative travel options that do not consume gas. And what better way is there than bicycles? When going out to do errands, Vin has been accustomed to driving his car. But with expensive fuel, Vin has been spending at least 500 pesos whenever he goes out. So, as an alternative, he decided to go back to biking.
Number one, mahal yung gasolina. Tapos, sabihin natin traffic din naman dito sa Calamba eh. Tulad ng dati.
Besides being able to save, Vin also noticed that he was able to cut his travel time by almost 40 minutes. Not to mention, biking is good exercise.
Bumalik ako sa pagbabike, I was like 119 kilos. And now I'm only 94. 25 kilos. Pinababawa sa akin.
But Vin also admits that biking also has its disadvantages, such as the weather and very limited storage space. But if using a car cannot be helped, there are some ways to save gasoline. First, follow the recommended air tire pressure of your car. Do not go too fast. Make sure to plan your route ahead of time. Remove excess baggage, and if possible, try to carpool. And if the area that you're going to isn't too far, walking is also a good option. While we have no control over the current fuel price increases, remember that your autos are not only your options for travel. Mobile journalist King Senko, we are One News.
With less than 2 months away from the May elections, the national campaign is starting to heat up. Romel Lopez with the story.
With 2 months left before the May 9 polls, the political attacks are getting stronger. In a tweet, Senator Ping Lacson once again red-tagged the attendees of Vice President Leni Robredo's grand rally in Cavite. Lacson replied to this tweet, which shows former NPA Jeffrey Celis citing a text message alleging that Robredo's camp distributed 500 pesos to CPP members which attended the rally. For Lacson, this validates the claims of his intel sources that the VP's campaign has been infiltrated by members of the CPP-NPA.
I never red-tagged anybody. Dahil sinabi ko lang, ang concern is kung may na-infiltrate unwittingly yung kanilang campaign, that's bad. Bakit ko naman red-tag yung aking mga kababayan?
Robredo's eldest daughter, Aika Robredo, denied this allegation on 1PH sa totoo lang.
Parang na-insulto doon yung mga kababayan natin na talagang naghintay ng matagal. At naalala ko po, sabi rin ng mama ko, kung magbabayad sila sa mga rallies, di ba? Parang niloko lang namin yung mga sarili namin.
The Vice President's camp also blasted what it says is a persistent red tagging mess as a concern. Meanwhile, presidential candidate Isko Moreno took a swipe for the second time at former Senator Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Moreno-led Action Democratico Party wrote a letter to the Presidential Commission on Good Governance. The letter inquires whether there is already an arrangement between PCGG and the Marqueses for the latter's over 200 billion tax liability. This after Marcos Jr.'s attorney allegedly claimed that there is already one. Moreno's camp also urged Marcos Jr. to pay estate tax to prove that his call for unity is true. With just 60 days to go, both Lacson and Moreno are behind Robredo and Marcos Jr. It is widely perceived that Lacson and Robredo have the same market, while survey shows that Moreno is the top second choice should Marcos Jr. not continue his bid. For News 5, Romel Lopez, we are One News.
Let's take a look at where the presidential candidates are headed today. Vice President Leni Robredo returns to Negros Occidental. She'll be in campaign rallies in San Carlos, Sagay, and Kabangkalan this morning, before visiting the Community Learning Hub in Himamaylan and more campaign rallies in Binalbagan, Hinigaran, and La Carlota. After that, Robredo will be at the Grand People's Rally in Bacolod. Former Senator Bongbong Marcos will make rounds around Laguna, specifically in Santa Cruz, Biñan, and Santa Rosa. Calio Didi Guzman is traveling to Mindanao this morning. His first stop is in Clarin, Misamis Occidental. Then he'll start campaigning around Osamis City. Manila Mayor Isko Moreno will continue to campaign in Nueva Ecija, and this time he'll visit Talavera, Muñoz, and San Jose City. And finally, Senator Ping Lacson will be interviewed this morning in Radyo 5 Selection Special, Serve the People, Sino ang Karapat-Dapat sa Boto ng Pilipino. Afterwards, the veteran lawmaker will be going to Castillejos in Zambales and then to Olongapo City. Daniel Padilla shows his support for presidential candidate Vice President Leni Robredo. Meanwhile, presidential frontrunner Bongbong Marcos Jr.'s wife says he decided to gun for the presidency while watching Ant-Man. More in this report from MJ Marfori.
Actor Director Daniel Padilla has been making a buzz online, not for a new drama, but for making his presidential bet known to the public. Director Mandy Reyes posed with Daniel beside Vice President Lenny Robredo's campaign poster. Even the Vice President's daughter could not help but gush over the photo.
Sinend ko kaagad kay Jillian. Kasi si Jillian sobrang fan na fan ni Daniel Padilla. At alam kong sobrang matutuwa siya pag makita niya yun. Kaya lang,
Daniel's mom, Carla Estrada, then posted a family picture on Instagram and reiterated that her children are free to support whoever they want. Estrada openly campaigns for the tandem of Ferdinand Marcos Jr. and Sara Duterte. Speaking of Marcos Jr., ever wondered how he made his decision to run for president? It's while watching Marvel's Ant-Man movie. Yes, his wife Liza Araneta revealed it in an interview. After the revelation, and Scott Lang trended on social media. For News 5, MJ Marfori, we are One News.
And that's how the day is shaping up to be. Join us again later at 9 a.m. as we monitor the day's biggest stories from sunrise to sundown. You can also catch One News on Signal Play. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com so you can stream One News live anytime and anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.